Well, good afternoon and welcome to Live Impact News right here on 13 News Now Plus. Now, we have left our speaker on in the studio, so I have to duck out for a brief moment and turn that down. Just give me 1 second here. I think we're back. There we go. That is what I'm talking about. I apologize for that, folks. That's a preparation mistake on my part, which means no more mistakes for the rest of the show. I'm Connor Reel. It's 1 o'clock p.m. It's May 7th, and it is a Thursday, or as Nia Campbell calls it, Friday Eve. Now, Nia Campbell is here. We're raising the roof. We're raising the roof with Nia Campbell and Hunter Forst.
Well, I was actually stretching, and I didn't realize Nia was going to go to that shot, so I had to improvise.
You turned it into a raise the roof. That is high-level improvisation right there. That is Second City comedy stuff that I'm seeing from Hunter Forst. Now, here's the question for Nia Campbell. Nia, we're finally getting some rain. Hunter's going to tell us all about the ins, the outs, the do's, and the don'ts of this new rainfall that we have. But first, I want to know from you, what's the rain protection gear today? Did you go jacket? Did you go umbrella? Did you go nothing? What do we got?
I went umbrella.
Nice.
I did wear longer sleeves because it felt a little bit breezier.
It's cold.
It's getting colder, though, right?
Yeah.
It started warm today.
It did start pretty warm.
Yeah. Okay. The
Very
umbrella. I've never been an umbrella guy. I just don't like the responsibility.
So you just run?
I'll do a brisk walk, though I've heard these.
I'm a runner.
I've heard these mythical folk tales that you actually get more wet from the rain the faster you move, which I cannot imagine is logically true.
It's a myth.
I think that was told to me by my mom so that I would actually start wearing a jacket, but it didn't work.
Have you ever seen Mythbusters? That show?
I actually have not watched much Mythbusters in my time.
I used to love that show.
And that was one of the
that
myths
was like
that they
my
busted?
jam.
They busted that myth?
There was one episode where they did it and they found it to be true that if you ran, you get more wet. But then I think they tested it again like years later and they were like, JK.
Mythbusters busted their own myth?
I think so.
They confirmed the myth and then busted that confirmation?
Right. I could be
Oh,
lying.
Mythbusters, you got to get it together. We can't be having that. Okay, but no worries because Nia Campbell's got the umbrella and Hunter Forst has the information. Hunter, how are we doing with this rain? I can hear it pitter-pattering on the ceiling right now.
You can hear it pitter-pattering on the roof here in downtown Norfolk. We are seeing a good amount of rainfall coming on down here, not just for Norfolk, but for pretty much the entire south side, eastern North Carolina, and parts of the eastern shore. The peninsula's not seeing a whole lot, but a little bit. Here's a look at a closer look here down around Poquoson, Cape Charles, Martin Siding, Newport News, some lighter rain and a few sprinkles around Williamsburg, but we are a bit drier up around Gloucester and Saluda, Exmoor, Winterville, Cheekatogue. Not seeing a whole lot, but down into the south side, some light to moderate rainfall around downtown, Ocean View, the ocean front, Pungo through Bear Quarter, Suffolk, Ivor, Franklin, and some lighter rain over by Littleton, Beals, Bryant's Corner, and down into eastern North Carolina, some heavier rain around Elizabeth City, Moyock, Poplar Branch, and finally Elizabeth City and Eatonton seeing a bit more rain because earlier this morning they weren't seeing a whole lot. The bulk of it was kind of staying off towards the north. but it started to fill in, so we're seeing some good rainfall down there, and over the next couple of hours, we'll continue with the rain through the afternoon for the next 2 to 3 hours, I would say. By 4 o'clock, it starts to wind down, but we'll see a few more scattered showers heading into this evening. Temperature's chilly. It's just a chilly, kind of dreary day outside. If it was a Saturday, it'd be a great movie day to kind of hang out inside. But since it's a Thursday, I'm sure.
No movies. No movies allowed.
Unless after work.
After work movies. Will it be raining when we get out of work here? If we're getting out around 6 o'clock, will it still be raining?
Yeah, there could be an isolated shower or two.
Okay. All right.
But it's not going to be like this widespread.
Right.
But it'll still be kind of dreary and cold.
Now, following today, will the colors on that drought map meaningfully change?
This isn't going to be like a drought buster.
Yeah.
It certainly won't help it progress, the drought.
Right. It's not going to make the drought worse.
It's not going to make the drought worse.
Okay.
So either the colors will stay similar or maybe a little bit better, but not a whole lot. We still need a lot more rainfall, but we'll see what happens. Heading into this afternoon or tomorrow afternoon, plenty of sunshine, a beautiful Friday. Low 70s, just a great end to the work week. Friday night, any plans? We're in the low 60s, plenty of sunshine. And by Saturday, we're in the low 60s. Already in the morning, it's going to be a warm start. But in terms of additional rainfall, on top of what we've already seen, could see, another quarter to half an inch in parts of the south side down into eastern North Carolina. Not looking to see a whole lot, through the peninsulas and up into the eastern shore, unfortunately. But here's a look at the latest drought monitor. This updates every Thursday. So now that severe drought has expanded into parts of the south side. Suffolk, Chesapeake, Norfolk, a little bit of Virginia Beach in that severe drought. Elizabeth City, Edenton, Ahoskie, still pretty much a moderate drought, but a severe drought for parts of the eastern shore, up through the peninsulas, out by Richmond, and an extreme drought for Emporia, Roanoke Rapids, Rocky Mount, South Boston, Raleigh. So, unfortunately, over the last week, the drought has gotten a bit worse.
Okay, so it's gotten worse, but we've got a real serious rainfall today. We've had these sort of fake rainfalls over the past 2 weeks where we'll get a very, very small amount scattered. This seems like a real, genuine day of rain. So we could see you're like, Connor, I'm on a roll. Why are you re-emphasizing what I've already said to the people?
No, Connor, I appreciate it. You're absolutely correct. This is a really nice, kind of chunky rainfall.
It's more full.
It's full.
Yes. Okay.
And a lot of people getting in on it. And the great thing is that it's not like extreme heavy rainfall and we're getting, flash flood warnings. It's a really great light to moderate rain where it's not overwhelming any of the drainage systems so far. Don't want to jinx it.
Yeah.
I don't think it will. I think we'll be fine.
Okay.
So this is just kind of best case scenario for us right now.
And I liked that this morning when I walked outside, it was warm rain.
I know.
And now I know it's getting a little chillier, but it
so
looks like
nice.
Saturday we might have a little more of that.
Saturday will be warm, low 80s. There's a chance for an isolated shower. I think most of us should be fine. If you have any outdoor plans, keep them. But you may just run into a sprinkler or shower. Nothing crazy,
Okay. Well, we've now mentioned Friday and Saturday plans have both been brought up here, and we know that it's usually around this time that Nia Campbell likes to tell us about her Friday, Saturday plans. Go ahead, Nia. The floor is yours.
I did want to ask about Saturday when I saw the rain droplets on there because I was like, I do have a outdoor workout class
Cool.
on Saturday
Ah.
morning around like 10 a.m.
Huh. Interesting.
So the isolated shower is more towards the evening, or do you
Like
have to wait
afternoon, evening, yeah. I think it'll be
Okay.
fine. Wait, that sounds so... I love like a good outdoor...
I am pretty into this
We'll have
outdoor
to-
workout
We'll
class.
have to see...
Are you guys going to kiki after
have to
this,
hit
figure
you
out the
up
deeds?
about it.
Okay, you might have Hunter Forced at that class too. You might not be
fun,
alone.
Actually.
It would be fun.
No.
Is it downtown? Is it in
No.
Virginia Beach?
Virginia Beach, yeah.
Okay.
Can we know?
Connor lives over there, I think.
Well, I do
He
live
would
over
not
there.
come.
That's
Connor
not true.
is not a fan of hanging out with coworkers.
That is absolutely
That's so
not
true.
true.
I've never seen
That
Connor
is-
outside of work.
I want everyone at home to know they're sabotaging me right now. That is not true. There's no time that I value more than this time that we have
Okay.
together right now.
So
Okay.
we'll see you at the Tides game.
Now, as far as that Sunday forecast, how is that Sunday forecast looking for Mother's Day, of course,
For
as
Mother's
we
Day.
know. Hopefully everyone has their plans ready, but will they have to adjust those plans based on what we're seeing weather-wise?
I'm not thinking so. I think it's still going to be a nice day, low 80s. We'll see an increase in cloud cover through the day. Maybe a few showers very late Sunday, but overall, Mother's Day is also one of those days like Easter where it's kind of like brunch vibes.
Brunch vibes, big time. Big Mother's
time
Day
for
brunch
Mother's
vibes.
Day.
Yeah. So you should be clean if you have an outdoor brunch going.
For sure.
Yeah.
Even if you just have regular dinner plans,
Great.
should be fine.
Okay, so very sporadic rain on Sunday. Or just
I
very,
would say
very
more
late.
like late into the day. I think maybe you'll run into a shower or two, but slim chances.
Okay.
Overall, going to be a nice day. So weekend's looking good. Outdoor plans, thumbs up.
Yes, an outdoor Taibo class or an outdoor brunch, whatever the case may be.
Taibo class.
Were we talking Taibo?
No. I'm pretty sure I used to watch. My parents did that though. Taibo, remember back in the day?
My mom definitely did Taibo. We
Yeah.
had VHS tapes of
yeah,
Taibo.
100%.
Naya's like, what in the world are you guys talking about?
Taibo. It was like a workout video.
Oh,
Yeah.
my mom did Zumba.
Oh, she did
was
Zumba?
a
Okay.
Zumba,
See, everybody's
yeah.
got their version of the VHS workout.
Yep.
Okay, so if whatever the workout is, it looks like you should be good to go in the morning on Saturday. Now, what I believe there's a 7-day coming our way here.
There is.
I cannot get the cadence down.
No.
Okay, go ahead. Increases and decreases.
What?
No, I really enjoyed that. I got that wrong.
I mean, it's chilly out. 53.
Yeah.
Brr.
Yeah, and look at that drop. I mean, look at that downslope there.
I know. We should be in the
18.
mid 70s. It's
Yeah.
May. Hello. Mother Nature.
And it was
Sorry.
so warm this morning.
It was so warm. We were close to 70 in a few spots.
Anytime we can get our meteorologist to talk directly to Mother Nature, we know that we're cooking. Now, you're looking at the same thing I'm looking at. I believe our weather impact
Yeah.
vehicle is out and about. We can bring that up if you'd like. This is a real-time look at what the conditions are. I don't know exactly where our reporter is located, but I do know that they are out and about in the Hampton Roads area. So, Hunter, you can keep on cooking here, and we're going to get that pulled up in just a second for a real look outside.
But yeah, temperatures are going to stay in the mid 50s over the next couple of hours, even into this evening. Rain chances really dropping at around 4 or 5 o'clock, with the chance for a few isolated showers. But overall, drying out, I would say, after around 3 o'clock for the most part. So your evening commute can be much better than your morning commute, which is fantastic, right? 51 tonight in Norfolk, 51 for your overnight low in Virginia Beach, 46 in Boykins. We'll see mostly clear skies as this front pushes away. 52 in Cape Charles tonight, 48 in Gloucester, 48 in Newport News. 50 in Eatonton, 45 in Ahoskie, 53 over in Manio. And for tomorrow, plenty of sunshine, upper 60s to low 70s. It's going to be a beautiful end to the work week. Still a bit below average, but at least the sun will be shining after a very beneficial rainfall the day before.
Excellent. There's that 7-day
There's that.
forecast.
You were
I was
close.
2 graphics
You
behind.
were so close.
Okay, take us through.
Oh,
See, this is sometimes we get Hunter at the very end of his workday, and the delirium is creeping in.
and it's even
very
worse
slowly.
today because I watched my clock hour after hour, and then I just waited for my alarm to go off, and then I was like, "This is it."
So not much sleep last night.
Not even a minute.
Just because of sheer excitement about the rainfall
Correct.
today. Yeah.
Sheer excitement to get to work. I was excited.
Not even a minute. All right. Now, I love the Mother's Day graphics, and I especially love what next Wednesday is bringing our direction. 78 and sunny, no
78
rain.
and sunny, you love that.
Love that.
Tomorrow, 72 and sunny.
I will definitely take this Friday, sandwiched in between our rainy weekend and our rainy Thursday.
Well,
no
it's not going
question.
to be. I wouldn't call it a rainy weekend. I would call it could see a few isolated showers.
Right. Yes.
For the most part, dry.
I do appreciate that clarification because people are still going to be able to do lots of different things here.
It's going to be a fairly nice weekend. Still able to get outside and enjoy it. But more rain on Monday. 72 degrees, and then only 70 by next Tuesday. But like you were saying, Connor, back into the upper 70s by next Wednesday.
Fantastic. Great news from Hunter Forst and a great forecast as always. Now, before you go, let's take a look. This is actually outside. I believe that's Meadowbrook Hardware, which would be right around West Little Creek Road, not far from Titustown Park and the Titustown Rec Center. And as you can see, it is quite wet out there. It is a very, very rainy day in Norfolk, Virginia. And this is exactly what our meteorologist said would be coming today. And it is, as you can see, it should be good for those dry conditions on the ground here. And, a great sky cam transition there, Nia Campbell.
Okay.
As you get sort of that overview of just, Hunter did indeed clock that, this overview of the city here and just how rainy it is out there. What's going on? What's going on back there? I'm breaking down scenery here, guys.
Nia is just the producer of, she's just a great producer.
Well said.
So.
Very smooth. 100% agree with you. All right, let's head out. Let's head out to the peninsula where more of the same. Very rainy. You don't see the same level of sort of droplets coming down right now. It's maybe a little bit drier out there
definitely
now.
A bit more. It's a bit lighter up around the peninsulas.
Yeah, lighter in the peninsulas. Newport News, Hampton, a little lighter than what we saw in Virginia Beach, but still a sort of groggy day overall, if you will. Very overcast with plenty of moisture on the ground. So that is what we have in Hampton Roads today for your forecast. Hunter, please get some sleep.
Thank you.
Do you have anything you want to say about Bill Nye, about rain, about Nia's production skills, anything else you want to add?
Nia is the best producer ever for
thank you.
For the 1 o'clock show. And that's
we'll wrap it up there. That's very strong. Hunter Forst, everybody, with a wonderful forecast for us here at 1 o'clock.
Process
Umbrellas, jackets, a clean day tomorrow, and then some rain throughout the weekend. And we hope everybody is able to still enjoy their Mother's Day. Now, we're going to take a commercial break here on Live Impact News. When we get back, there is 2 live events going on that are sort of scattered in their focus. We're going to head out to those and give a check-in on the live events of the day when we return. All right, welcome back into the live Impact studio. Let's go through some of the live events that are happening right now. First, we're going to show you inside a courtroom in Orange County, Florida. Now, you don't see proceedings happening right now, right? There's no legal proceedings taking place. You do see some work being done, and we did have things going on just before we went to commercial in that courtroom, but what will be taking place in that courtroom once the action starts up again. This is rapper Kodak Black, who was arrested on Wednesday for allegedly trafficking MDMA in Florida last year, according to the Orange County Sheriff's Office. Kodak Black is a rapper, a hip-hop artist, one of the more prominent hip-hop artists of his generation, a litany of massive hits in his catalog, and seriously, one of the more influential rappers that we've seen really of the late 20-teens and into the 2020s. 28 years old at this time, awaiting a court hearing on Thursday afternoon, which we expect to be taking place any moment now. And it's, again, on that drug trafficking charge for an alleged incident that took place during a November 24th, 2025 police search in Orlando, Florida. What's the background on this? Officers responded to a 911 call about gunshots and search vehicles that were in the vicinity of the incident. Now, Kodak Black approached the officers and observed them searching the vehicles, according to the report. The affidavit alleges that police located a bag in the trunk containing 56 grams of cannabis in sealed marked cannabis bags and a metal container containing a pink pill substance. The sheriff's deputy alleged in the report that a pink pill tested positive for MDMA that was found during the search. An officer also said he allegedly found a bag containing Kodak Black's identification money and a bottle of promethazone hydrochloride, according to the report. So what we're working with, again, here, as we just stated, is a situation where there was a call to police with reports of gunshots, and then in the vicinity of that incident, vehicles were searched. In one of those vehicles was found both cannabis and a metal container containing a pink pill that tested positive for MDMA, as well as a bag with Kodak Black's ID, money, and other artifacts. So why don't we listen in? It looks like things are about to get going here. Let's take a listen. We do not know the exact proceedings that will be taking place in this court other than what we've reported to you, which is the fact that it will be a court hearing on Thursday afternoon. Now, could this be a situation? Sometimes we'll see within these live judicial looks that there will be a number of different cases that are sort of going up, appearing before the judge, and then moving on. We're not looking to cover any of those other cases. It's possible that that's what's happening here. We don't see Kodak Black on the screen. So we're going to be very careful in monitoring that. We're going to be, again, just cautious in how we approach this, because our goal is not to cover each and every hearing that comes before the judge in this particular courtroom. And it looks like that may be how they're conducting what they're doing here. So I'm wondering if we take this live, Naya, and just listen in, and then we'll make the decision as to how specific we want to be in our coverage with this.
Yeah, I feel like we can take a listen.
Okay, let's listen into the Orange County courtroom now.
Of $1,000. As conditions of your bond, you are not to have any contact with your co-defendants, nor are you to possess or consume any drugs or controlled substances without a valid prescription. Additionally, no consumption of alcohol to the point of intoxication. And lastly, in the event you are able to post the monetary bond, please be aware that you do currently have an immigration hold, so you will need to deal with that issue separately. Okay? Thank you.
We have a plea on the record. I've obviously.
Okay, it appears as though this will be a number of different individuals who are appearing before the judge throughout a series of hearings, and only one of them will be Kodak Black. At least that's what we're getting from our first impression of listening in live here. So that's obviously not Kodak Black. We're going to wait and see where this goes. We'll try to keep an eye on that. We weren't sure what type of hearing we'd be getting here, so we wanted to make sure we could get in a live look at that, but it doesn't appear as though it's going to be something that we stay with for long stretches of time. Now, there's another live event happening right now that is on our live board, but we actually are, for the time being, not taking live. The reason we're not taking it live is because we've been warned that there could potentially be offensive language or images that are a part of this live look out in Tennessee. These are protesters at the Tennessee Capitol. A protest, again, at the Tennessee Capitol where a special session is being held in which Republican lawmakers unveiled a new congressional redistricting proposal. So protesters at the Tennessee Capitol today as Republican lawmakers unveil a new congressional redistricting proposal. Of course, at this station, as much as any, we have covered the redistricting battle that's played out across the United States very, very closely as it made its way all the way to Virginia, where a referendum and a special vote went through with the yes votes winning a decision and a new map that favors Democrats that is now going through the process of our judicial system before it truly goes into effect ahead of the midterms. So for the time being, we're not going to litigate the entirety of the redistricting battle that we've seen play out, other than to state that there are different opinions as to the true origin, but for the most part of our reporting, we have been presenting a situation where President Donald Trump very publicly requested legislators in Texas to go and find him 5 more Republican seats. California responded with their own redistricting, so on and so forth, all the way down to Virginia and now to Tennessee, where there are actual protesters in a very tense situation at the Tennessee Capitol as Republican lawmakers are holding that special session. If at any point we get either a live press conference or live images and audio that we are sort of able to play without fear of that profane language or those graphic images, we will in fact go live to Tennessee. We'll also keep updates as to where these protests sort of end up here as we go through the day. Now, for the time being, let's take a brief commercial break, and when we get back, we will explore more headlines. We just wanted to make sure that we had an update on those 2 live events, as we may dip into them at any time. A quick commercial and then some news of the day. Okay, welcome back to Live Impact News. Let's go over an event that happened a little earlier in the day, right around the 11 o'clock hour, maybe 11:30. Throughout the morning, there was a hearing going on that is kind of being framed as Arizona Senator Mark Kelly versus Secretary of Defense Pete Hegseth and the Pentagon. That's been the framing of a legal case that has gone to court this week. And earlier in the day, Mark Kelly emerged from that courthouse and spoke in front of gathered reporters here. So what is this case about? I'm going to try to lay it out for you as concisely as I can, and then we will go and listen to Mark Kelly's comments from earlier today. So this is where did this begin, I suppose? Let's go back to the beginning. Here I say concise, and then I take us all the way back to the beginning. Mark Kelly appeared in a video with other Democratic lawmakers calling upon service members to defy illegal orders. You may remember our coverage of that particular issue. Now, Mark Kelly is also a former astronaut and a former Navy captain. After that video came out with Senator Kelly in it, Pete Hegseth, the Secretary of Defense, issued a censure letter which could result in a demotion to Kelly's rank. Okay, so Kelly filed a motion that blocked that demotion following the censure letter, and then the Department of Defense issued an appeal against the court order blocking the demotion, which was a result of the censure letter, which came due to the video that was released that was encouraging service members to defy illegal orders. You know, Naya, I'm trying to lay this out as much as possible, but it is such a domino process, and so much of that process involves the minutia of legal proceedings. But essentially what you need to know is that after Senator Mark Kelly from Arizona released a video calling upon service members to defy illegal orders, Pete Hegseth and the Pentagon attempted to censure him. It has gone through a number of different back and forth steps since then, and it has led to today's start of a court case in which the demotion will be reviewed by an appellate court. After that first day in court, Mark Kelly appeared in front of the press and gave a press conference. We're going to listen to that press conference now. Thank you for bearing with me as I work us through that.
It's the same law that every veteran is trained to follow. And in response, the president said I should be prosecuted and hanged. Then he tried to throw me in jail. And then Pete Hegseth, the Secretary of Defense, tried to censure me, demote me, and take away my pension. All for something I said that I had the right to say as a senator, as a veteran, but most importantly, as an American. But we all understand that this is not about me. They're trying to send a message to other retired veterans and really to all of us. If you say something that the president or this administration does not like, they're going to come after you. The president is trying to silence us. And I can't think of anything that's more un-American. Just like these folks behind me, I signed up to serve our country and protect our freedoms, including the freedom of speech. Most of us joined to be part of something bigger than ourselves, to protect and serve the country we love. I know Donald Trump doesn't understand that. And he doesn't understand us. And sadly, it seems that Pete Hegseth doesn't understand that either. Because even after a federal judge ruled earlier this year that his attempts to silence me were unconstitutional, he wouldn't stop. And today, this administration argued in federal court that not only do I not have the same freedom of speech rights as other Americans, but that the millions of other retired veterans across the country don't either, including many of the individuals standing beside me today. According to them, anytime a retired veteran says something that the Secretary of Defense doesn't like, they can be punished. So the people who have given the most in service to this country wouldn't be free to say what they believe. It's absurd and it's outrageous. It is an outrageous violation of our constitutional rights. One of our most fundamental rights is the right to speak out about the government. It's the right that guarantees all others. And it's how we hold our government accountable. And it's especially important right now. Donald Trump is 2 months into a war with Iran that he started without a strategic goal. 13 Americans have died. The same Iranian regime is in charge, and their enriched uranium is still in their possession. The Strait of Hormuz is now closed, and Americans are suffering with skyrocketing gas prices. And without any explanation from this president of what this war is trying to achieve. Who better to speak out and share their perspective than the people who served? Retired military members who understand the risks and sacrifice of sending brave Americans into combat, who understand how to use combat power, but also understand its limitations, and also who have seen the mistakes of past administrations that thought wars could be fast and simple, only to get bogged down for years or for decades. Retired veterans have always been an important part of our democracy. And that's exactly why I am not backing down. After 25 years in the Navy, I've given too much to this country to be silenced by an administration that does not want to be held accountable. So today, this was a day in court, not just for me, but for the First Amendment rights of millions of us. This administration has bullied and coerced the press, private companies, and universities. The list goes on. But in this case, the President and the Secretary of Defense picked the wrong guy. Because when it comes to our most fundamental rights, I will not back down. Given what's at stake, I appreciate the judge's quick and careful consideration in this case. We have the Constitution and the law on our side. And I've never been more confident than I am today, standing here with my wife, Gabby, my daughter, Claire, and the guy who I flew almost all my combat missions with, Paul Fujimura, but also with these brave men and women who served our country. Don't give up the ship.
Okay, not backing down. There you heard it from Mark Kelly. Now, we were talking about this Kodak Black case. This hearing has begun. He is live in the courthouse. Let's listen in now.
Because I think that goes towards the bond. In this case, Judge, this happened in November. Oh, before I get to that, we also self-surrendered for the court's edification. We self-surrendered. He was in California. I had him fly back specifically for this case. I was notified by the U.S. Marshal Service and given the opportunity to surrender him. U.S. Marshal Service was beyond professional in this case, just for the record. But if you read the affidavit that is attached to the warrant, Judge, essentially what happened here was there was two vehicles.
Yes, sir.
Neither of the vehicles are registered to Mr. Capri personally. An officer approaches the vehicles. One vehicle, he says, smells like marijuana. He searches that vehicle, finds something in that vehicle that is unrelated to Mr. Capri. The second vehicle, and he doesn't even see Mr. Capri on the scene at this point. The second vehicle, they then inspect. There's one person in that vehicle. There's 2 bags next to that person, both in the passenger side of the vehicle. One bag has drugs in it and some other items. The other bag has what he initially says, and he doesn't put this in his affidavit, he initially says that he tests it, and it tests as 27 grams of cocaine, which is just under the trafficking amount of 28 grams. When he then sends it in, allegedly, it becomes MDMA. So I also have his original report that says when he originally tested it, it tested as cocaine. Inside that bag, there's some items that he says belong to Mr. Capri, an identification and some paperwork. He then sends things off to get printed. None of the things in that bag come back to Mr. Capri as his fingerprints. I think there were several latent prints taken off. None of them match Mr. Capri. At that point, then Mr. Capri approaches the officer and is now on the scene, was not in the vehicle, and doesn't make any admission that the bag is his or anything like that. The officer then goes one step further and goes on Mr. Capri's Instagram, and on one picture in his Instagram, there's a picture of him standing next to a bag that looks like the bag that was in the car. Now, I know PC was already found, so I'm not going to argue PC, but it's really screaming at me, but I won't argue it. But, I mean, the case law on this is so very clear, and I use 2 very, very, I think, esteemed cases. One of them is Edmond v. State, and the other one is McCrae v. State. And I'll just give you a very brief on it.
Right, so let me ask you this before we get into the cases.
Yes.
One, has a copy been given to the state?
I'll give her a copy, I'm sorry.
Because certainly last thing we want to do is have a hearing by ambush.
I use these in a lot of the construction cases, construction possession cases. So the Edmond case is kind of an amazing case. The police raid a house on a warrant. The guy's hiding in the closet with wet cocaine next to him in a hole that his head 1 foot of the hole. On the stove is cooking cocaine. Next to the stove is his ID and some paperwork. In a bedroom in the house is more paperwork that belongs to him. The court found that's still not enough for constructive possession. It's kind of an amazing case, and I'll give you the exact site for it, but it's Edmond v. State, and the state has a copy of it. The other one is McCrae. In McCrae, they're pulling a guy over. They pull him over, he jumps out of the car and makes a run for it. As he's running, the officer sees that he's playing with his waistband and makes a throwing motion. He puts him down on the ground, arrests him, and tells the other cop, hey, go back and see what he threw. They find a baggie of cocaine, no fingerprints on it. They print it, no fingerprints on it, and the court says that's not enough for constructive possession. Those cases are so much closer to constructive possession than this case, and I would just ask the court, in considering a bond, to look at the case, to look at the affidavit that's with the case. And I understand that the typical bond on this is $50,000. I'm asking for a $10,000 bond. I on my way here on the train, I was typing up a motion to dismiss. It's just there is not enough here. I get
Right,
it.
and I'll stop you there. I mean, obviously, you know that the motion to dismiss
I know.
is for another day. We're
know,
here
Judge.
for the sole purpose of
Yes, Judge.
determining bond and conditions of bond. Your
I do.
client,
And I appreciate, Judge, and I don't know if you
I've
want.
got the sites for you, Your Honor.
Oh.
Edmond versus State is 963 Southern 2nd 344. It's 2007 case, 4th DCA. And the McCrae versus State is another 4th DCA case out of 2006, and I do not have that site. Given the case over there. Again, not arguing PC, it's been found.
Yes, sir.
I believe that the importance of this information is the strength of the case is something for the court to consider. Additionally, again, as Mr. Cohen had said, this was a self-surrender case. This is not somebody who is a flight risk, and strength of the case, using the word strength very, very loosely, I would ask that the court consider a low bond, $10,000.
And he's never failed to appear, as long as I've represented him.
as long as you represent him, there is at least one.
I've
failure to
represented him
appear.
since he was like, I don't know, 17. Yeah, there might be one really far back in the past.
There's one from 2016.
Yeah.
Before I determine conditions of bond and bond amount, State, is there anything that you all wish to add?
No, Your Honor. As both attorney said, they're not arguing PC, and PC has already been found. The schedule for trafficking is $50,000. PC has been found for a trafficking, so the state would ask that you give a bond of $50,000. The state would actually ask that you increase the bond, as the defendant is a professional rapper. As the counsel has indicated, he flew in from California. He is also, when you do a search, listed as a Haitian American. He does not have any ties to Orlando. He's from Pompano Beach, but again, he flew in from California. So state would not only ask that you have the bond at $50,000, in light of his occupation and lack of ties to Orlando, that it actually be increased, and one of the conditions be that he surrender his passport.
If I can just address that very quickly, Judge. He is a proud Haitian American, but he is an American. He has a U.S. passport. He doesn't have any plans on leaving the country. I mean, we've faced cases that are 10 times this case, and I've won, by the way. But we'll put that in another bucket. But the fact that he's a rapper doesn't give you a legal purpose to raise the bond. So I would still ask for a $10,000 bond, Judge.
All right, well, I appreciate all the argument. Again, Mr. Capri, you're charged with trafficking in methamphetamine or MDMA, more than 10 grams, less than 200 grams. That is a first-degree felony. Again, you are entitled to a bond, so I am going to give you a bond. I have considered the strength of the case as well as everything that was set forth in the arrest affidavit. I understand the arguments presented by your counsel. I think one of the things that was left out was, while you weren't necessarily claiming ownership of the bag, you were requesting that the funds within the bag be turned over to you. So there at least is some tie, seems like, to the court, to that bag. Nonetheless, I think in terms of bond, I am going to slightly increase the bond. I think based upon your, not the fact that you're a rapper, I think that has no binding, but the other factors that the court considered is your prior criminal history, including 12 prior felony convictions, 2 misdemeanor convictions, 1 failure to appear. That was quite some time ago, so I'm not giving a ton of weight to the failure to appear. But I think an appropriate bond in this case would be $75,000, so that's going to be what the court sets the bond at. As conditions of your bond, I am going to order that you not return to the scene of the offense, which is 910 Fairvilla Road, Orlando, Florida, which is the Children's Safety Village. Additionally, I am going to order that you not have any contact with any of the co-defendants in your case, so specifically Mr. Avon Joseph and Mr. James Twitty. Additionally, you are not to possess or consume any drugs or controlled substances without a valid prescription. Additionally, this should go without saying because you are already a felon, but you're not to possess any weapons or firearms. Additionally, I am going to order that you not have contact with any of the other witnesses in the case, so specifically Gizgard Kantave, Arquita McDougald, Dion Rogers, and Mazrick Senmelis. Aside from that, I believe those are all the conditions that I think would be appropriate in this particular case. Obviously, if you all are seeking to have the bond modified or reduced, you can file the appropriate motion with the assigned judge, and I'm sure they'll get you in the docket to address that for you. I'm also not going to order that you surrender your passport. I don't deem you to be a flight risk. Again, you only have 1 prior failure to appear dating over 10 years ago. So, Mr. Cohen?
Yes, Judge, this is one thing. One of those individuals is his brother, so I don't know how you don't have contact with your brother.
Which one?
Nasnik. And then the other ones, I think there's some cousins involved in there. One of them is his manager. One of them is his road guy. So
Which one's the co-defendant?
It's not a co-defendant. You said no contact with the witnesses.
Right, but before that, I said Avon Joseph and James Twitty.
Yeah, I don't mind about that. That's fine.
Okay.
But there's the other individuals that had nothing to do with this case that were just on the scene. One of them is his brother, Masnick.
Okay.
And then I believe one of them is I think 2 are security and 1, 2 are his security.
All right, which 2?
Which 2 are those? Cantave and Dion.
All right, so I will permit you to have contact with your team, so your security, and so that's Cantave, Rogers, and Senmelis. You can have contact with them, so I'll strike the condition. Okay?
Perfect.
All right,
Thank you, Judge.
so much. Best of luck
Good
to you,
seeing
sir.
you, Judge.
You as well.
Okay, so there you have it. Kodak Black in the courtroom and us getting a live look into those proceedings as it happens. If there are, certainly there will be an outcome in that case. We'll keep you updated. Again, Kodak Black, one of the most influential young artists of the 20-teens, the late 20-teens, and the early 2020s. So something we'll keep an eye on. And we'll keep an eye on Live Impact News when we get back. We've got plenty more to cover. Stay with us. All right, welcome back to Live Impact News here on 13 News Now. It is 1:52 p.m. here on this Thursday afternoon. We're going to welcome on a special guest to join us to give a little bit more insight into a topic that has really dominated a lot of headlines here in President Donald Trump's second term. We welcome Dr. Ryan Allen to the show now, a professor and associate dean for research at the University of Minnesota, where he studies immigrant communities. Dr. Allen, it's always strange meeting someone for the first time digitally like this, live on the air, but I'm Connor, and we really appreciate you taking some time with us today.
Thanks for having me, Connor. Good to see you.
Absolutely. And I'll give a little bit of a foundation here before we jump into the questions. Recent census data shows that with those significant declines in immigration, population growth has also slowed or turned negative in about 75% of U.S. counties. So we're going to talk to Dr. Allen a little bit more about the impacts that come with this. I guess I want to start with, before we dive into the situation where there has been a decline, like we've seen up to this point in time. I would love to go backwards to just what has been the basic role of immigrants in state and local economies, both when it comes to their position in the workforce and as consumers and participants in the societies and the communities that they live in.
Thanks for the question, Connor. I'm getting feedback on my end. I hope it sounds okay on your end.
Everything sounds great for us, and we'll work on getting that feedback fixed for you. We certainly don't want you to have to deal with that this whole time, but you sound great as far as our show goes.
Okay. Very good. So the presence of immigrants in the local economy is substantial, and we know that that's true around the United States. One of the things that we know is that immigrants are disproportionately present in the workforce. They are much more likely to be working than native-born workers. We also know that they are key contributors to tax receipts in any number of ways. And so I think that they're really prominent here. We are still having a fair amount of feedback here.
We do. Yeah, Dr. Allen, we have a bit of feedback creeping in as well. We have had this audio issue before. I think what we could do, and we really appreciate your patience here, is we could take a moment to go and see if we can dig into the Zoom, fix that issue quickly, and then we can come right back and finish the interview again. We really appreciate you taking a little bit of extra time with us. Do you have time for that? We understand if you don't.
Yes, thank you.
Okay, no problem. We're going to go to a quick commercial. We're going to get this fixed up, and then we're going to hear from Dr. Allen about some of his research at the University of Minnesota. We'll be right back. Okay, welcome back to Live Impact News. We sincerely apologize for the technical issues that we experienced during that interview. We've really been looking forward to talking with Dr. Allen. He's got so much insight to give. We've looked over some of his research, and unfortunately, we just were not able to get that audio issue fixed. We know that watching the stream, you weren't hearing any audio issues, but he was having an immense amount of trouble with some feedback, and it just was, he would not have been able to do the interview in a comfortable space. And so we are going to reschedule. We've already spoken with Dr. Allen's team. We're going to reschedule. We're going to have him on the stream, and we are going to still dive into that subject. So we apologize once again for the tease there. We got about halfway through the first answer, and Dr. Allen was so patient with us, and he really tried to make that work. He did everything he could, and ultimately we said, listen, we want you to be, have a perfect audio situation as well. So, to be determined in the future, we will certainly make that interview happen because it's one that we were really looking forward to. For the time being, we're going to move on to some other subjects. We've got plenty more that we want to cover. And right now, we're going to follow up on the big story of yesterday, a story that we covered for the large majority of our stream yesterday and really of all of our newscasts yesterday. And that is the FBI raid at the Portsmouth office of Virginia Senator Luis Lucas. The Associated Press says that this is part of an ongoing corruption investigation. Now, one thing we heard from Don Scott yesterday, we heard from Bobby Scott yesterday, we had a soundbite or a statement rather from the FBI directly, but we had yet to hear from Luis Lucas when we went off the air here on Live Impact News. She did release a statement shortly after 7 p.m. on Wednesday, and we are going to go through that statement with you right now. This is directly from Senator Luis Lucas regarding, again, federal officials raiding her Portsmouth offices yesterday, as well as a cannabis shop that is near her offices, a shop that, according to old social media posts, she is involved with or a part owner of in some way. So let's go through this statement here. Quote, today's actions by federal agents are about far more than one state senator. They are about power and who is allowed to use it on behalf of the people. What we saw fits a clear pattern from this administration. When challenged, they try to intimidate and silence the voices who stand up to them. Just 2 weeks ago, Virginians sent a powerful message when they voted to stop Trump's scheme to manipulate the 2026 midterm elections. Voters across this Commonwealth made clear that power belongs with the people, not with politicians who try to take power away from them. I was proud to help lead that effort, and I have never been afraid to stand up to Donald Trump or anyone else who has tried to undermine our democracy. I am deeply grateful for the love and support of my family and friends and for the many colleagues and constituents who have reached out in recent hours. I will have more to say in the days ahead, but know this, I am not backing down and I will keep fighting for the people of Portsmouth and the Commonwealth of Virginia. And you can see the portion that is bold there at the bottom. I am not backing down and I will keep fighting for the people of Portsmouth and the Commonwealth of Virginia. That from Luis Lucas as well. I will have more to say in the days ahead. That's something that we will be very, very cognizant of and aware of as we continue to cover this story. Any other statements or interview opportunities or press conferences that we get with Luis Lucas, we will be sure to bring you right away here on Live Impact News and on all of our news platforms. Now, we went over these details time and time again yesterday regarding this case and regarding Senator Lucas. We will not go over them again in depth like that today because we covered it so thoroughly yesterday. We will touch on the fact that she mentioned in that statement the redistricting referendum. That's something that we echoed in our coverage yesterday, which was the fact that she was a vocal proponent for and architect of the new map that was approved by the Virginia electorate that transferred more seats to Democratic lawmakers. And she was a vocal proponent of that redistricting initiative, which again, was part of the redistricting battle that we've seen playing out across the country as Virginia sort of stepped into that ring in order to try to gain more Democratic seats. Now, we also heard from Virginia Governor Abigail Spanberger yesterday. We're going to play a brief soundbite from her when she was asked about this federal investigation, this federal raid of those Portsmouth offices. Let's take a listen.
I am awaiting more details to become public before weighing in with any strong public comment. And as more information becomes available, I look forward to making further comment.
Okay, so a wait and see from Governor Spanberger as we continue to await, more comment from public officials and more clarity on what's going on in this particular situation. Now, again, we went over this so much yesterday that we want to make sure we get to other headlines today. We have those are the big new updates. That statement from Senator Lucas, really the main portion of what we wanted to make sure you got from this stream as far as updates to that story. Now, Madison Schlegel did wonderful reporting all day yesterday on this particular case, including talking to community members who were in the area, observing what was happening, concerned about what was happening, and trying to figure out why this was happening. So if you go to 13newsnow.com, you can see some of her reporting in full, the stories she did yesterday in full, and more. So we strongly encourage anyone who was not with us yesterday, who does not have the full details, to go and listen in. But we included some context as well as today's big update. So we're going to go forward with some other stories here now. Now, I think what we will do here, let's see. Naya, what do you say? Should we go to commercial break or should we dive right into some of our other stories here? I think maybe what we'll do, I'm going to give another brief update on some major headlines, then we'll go to commercial, and then when we get back, we have a major press conference that we must pay some attention to. So first, what we know is that U.S. Secretary of State Marco Rubio visited the Vatican for 2.5 hours today. We don't know the total and complete content of that conversation, but we do know the context, which is President Donald Trump's very public criticisms of Pope Leo throughout the course of this war in Iran, Pope Leo being vocal in his calls for peace in general, and President Trump oftentimes responding with criticisms of Pope Leo. So we know that Rubio was at the Vatican with the Pope and Vatican leaders in order to potentially try and help with that relationship, but the State Department says that it was in a discussion of efforts to achieve a durable peace in the Middle East. Now, as far as that peace in the Middle East, Iran said it was reviewing the latest American proposals on ending the war. Trump has threatened the country with new bombing unless a deal is reached that includes opening the Strait of Hormuz to international shipping. So that remains in flux. Not a huge change there. That has been the back and forth that has happened for some time when it comes to the war in Iran. I will do a brief look through my notes to make sure that we don't have any other major updates that we need to give. We do have there is a story that was released today that Iran has established a new government agency to approve transit and collect tolls from shipping in the Strait of Hormuz. That's according to a shipping data firm, Lloyd's List Intelligence. We also know that Project Freedom, which was put forward by the Pentagon as a means to use American resources and American defense resources to safely transport certain ships through the strait, that project has been put on hold. So we are still waiting any real tangible updates on a potential peace and potential reopening of the strait. And so that's something we continue to wait on here now. Okay, international updates done. Another international update coming. Let's talk hantavirus when we get back. That cruise ship, the Dutch cruise ship with a hantavirus outbreak, has led to the World Health Organization holding a press conference earlier today to discuss this incident, to discuss this event. We actually are going to listen to that press conference when we return right after this. Okay, welcome back to Live Impact News here on 13 News Now. So let's go back over the hantavirus situation. There is a Dutch cruise ship that is experiencing a hantavirus outbreak. Now, hantavirus typically is only transmitted through rodent droppings or saliva or urine. However, they have figured out that this particular strain of hantavirus actually can transmit human to human. That is something that we have learned today. So that is a major update in this case, at least for us here on Live Impact News. This is the MV Hondius that we're talking about here. 3 people have in fact passed away from hantavirus aboard this cruise ship. 3 others have been evacuated, 2 in need of critical medical help, and another whose partner passed away from hantavirus on the ship. So that is where things stand right now. Now, the ship is expected to sail to the Spanish island of Tenerife, where Spanish health authorities will take over further investigations, lab testing, and clinical assessments. There are nearly 150 passengers and crew on board from 24 different countries. Obviously, in 2026, in a post-COVID world, there is an elevated awareness and fear of this type of pandemic-related activity. So, with that in mind, the World Health Organization holding a press conference today to discuss this situation that has become massive international news. We're going to pick it up during that press conference. Let's listen in. This happened a little earlier today. Let's take a listen right now.
Just want to add to that because I think, again, this is another example, of having rapid sequencing being done by these 3 labs who are really exceptional labs. But the sharing of sequence information, particularly when you have outbreaks like this, can provide a tremendous amount of detail. And this is important every event that we have. Not only are they doing this work as rapidly as they can, but we have pulled together expertise in Andes viruses, and they will be debating, of course, what they see there and comparing with the other sequences that have been shared. We discussed this a lot up on this panel here, and we've been discussing this a lot with the pandemic agreement and the PABS annex that people have been discussing, the critical importance of sharing information, but not just that, actually bringing together people to do that risk assessment. What does it actually mean? So from the information we have so far, and they're still doing the sequencing, we haven't seen anything unusual, but that's why we bring together the best minds to be able to do that. And again, that includes people from Argentina who have specific experience with this particular virus. And now we will have more people around the world. So as soon as we know, and as soon as that analysis is done, of course, we will share that information as necessary.
Thank you very much, both. Now we move back to Germany. Deutsches Ärzteblatt, Valentin Frimmer. Valentin, please go ahead and unmute. Valentin? Otherwise, we come back to you. No, you're coming? If we don't get to you... Here we go.
Can you...
Yeah. It's...
Sorry. Hey, Valentin Frimmer, Deutsches Ärzteblatt. Thanks for the conference. My question is, so we've learned already that the incubation time is relatively long. So my question is, so with the view on the people in isolation, how long do they have to be in isolation before they are tested negatively? Because or in other words, how much time does it take at most until the antibody or PCR tests are positive? I hope this was clear.
Thank you for the question. We start with Anaïs Legault.
I hope I understood your question correctly, and sorry for that if I didn't. Your question is how long after symptoms is the PCR detecting the RNA? Is it correct?
Or how long would people need to stay in isolation to be sure that they're not infectious?
So what we know is, yes, the incubation can be up to 6 weeks. And for that time, contacts who have been potentially exposed need to monitor their health for any sign of symptoms. The RNA of the virus can be detected in a symptomatic person, so someone who is healed, from the first day of onset.
Thank you very much. Next question, we go to Globo, to Brazil. From Globo, Bianca Rotier. Bianca, please go ahead and unmute.
Hi, can you hear me?
Very well.
Thanks a lot. Good afternoon, everyone. A follow-up on this point, because you said 6 weeks monitoring, but does it mean 6 weeks of isolation? And now my main question, what is the mortality rate of the Andes strain of hantavirus? And just as I'm covering this story for the Brazilian television, my understanding is that the Andes strain of hantavirus is also present in Brazil, correct? So should Brazil's health authorities reinforce protocols for cruise ships after this case? Thanks a lot for your attention.
So the first was the specification on the 6 weeks, and then the question whether on this virus is also present in Brazil, and whether protocols should be adapted.
And the mortality. Yes. So maybe I will start with the mortality, and I might let colleagues to complement on other aspects. The high mortality has been observed in previous outbreak. This is true. But we are emphasizing the importance of early supportive and intensive care. And this is why we are also putting in place these contact tracing measures. It is very important that any patient can be admitted to a safe and adequately equipped with trained staff to ensure that patients can receive the level of care that is needed in case they present severe presentation and deteriorate. So hopefully with early care, survival can be improved. In terms of virus circulation in Brazil, I'm not sure if there was a question, but any country who have antiviruses, not just Andes, should obviously scale up their surveillance system and One Health approach to understand where this virus, in which, animal, rodents, the virus circulate, and ensure that interaction with rodents can be minimized or conducted safely to avoid rodent-to-human transmission in countries that have the virus present in their reservoir.
Thank you very much. Maybe to add on the hantavirus as such, and
the question,
yeah.
yes. So no, thank you very much for the question. So Anais had described earlier, and we'll talk in general, but then specifically about the situation with the ship and the people who are in contact. Certainly, we have the incubation period of up to 6 weeks. That doesn't necessarily people need to be in isolation for 6 weeks. What is really important is that people have the right information. We understand what their potential exposure is so that we can understand their risk. Contacts are not all the same. Some contacts have a higher risk of exposure and therefore a higher risk of infection, and others have less. So what is happening currently right now on the ship? We have a WHO expert who is on board together with an ECDC expert. We have 2 Dutch infectious disease physicians who are on board. They have received protocols. They're asking questions related to the exposures of the people on board to really understand, what type of contact did they have with any of the suspected cases or confirmed cases, and what did they generally do on the ship before they got on the ship, during on the ship, and then looking at what type of exposures and what type of risk that means. With that risk assessment that's being done, there is a step-by-step plan that is being developed, and it's currently in develop with many different experts to be able to say once that ship docks, what will happen as it goes on board. So that is currently being developed now. What is really critical is that people have the right information. This also includes people who disembarked in St. Helena, people who have been on board. If you are developing any symptoms, to present yourself to healthcare and just say, this is my potential exposure, might be hantavirus, and then you'll be isolated and tested and provided care. So what we're trying to do is take this in a staged approach. But I do want to reiterate contextually what we're talking about. The risk to the general public is low. Hantaviruses are relatively uncommon, even though there may be thousands of cases estimated each year. This is a particular situation where we are monitoring. I think it's great we're raising awareness about hantaviruses in general. It's great that countries are paying attention to this, and hopefully governments and increasing their surveillance efforts and really critically using this One Health approach, because it is predominantly in rodents and that's how people get infected. So this is why, as Chikwe has said before around the IHR, the core capacities in countries for early detection, good surveillance, having good public health systems is critical. So whatever is circulating there, we have the right facilities in place to keep people safe.
Thank you very much. And Dr. Mahmoud?
Just a small clarification on the
the question was isolation, and WHO, not to be pedantic about the use of word, isolation are confirmed cases who are symptomatic. So I just wanted to put in context. And then the second, the context people who've been exposed to infectious, we are recommending right now active monitoring. What does that active monitoring means? Each country will have a different approach. Some countries are now introducing institutional quarantine where people will be put, but we have to remember most people don't have putting people in 6 weeks are different. So we leave that decision from our WHO side. The most highly are the cases and confirmed which needs to be isolated. And then the contacts needs to be followed, duration up to maximum of 40. How does that happen? Active monitoring is the daily visit by healthcare workers. Is it we put in an institution? It will change. But just to break the chain of transmission, we have two different approaches. One is the isolation of confirmed cases who we know they have infections, and people who are at risk who maybe have been exposed, where we call active monitoring. And different countries use quarantine, institutional quarantine, and all that policy. I just wanted to separate what WHO is recommending. Isolation of the confirmed cases and the active monitoring of the exposed people who may be at risk. How is that implemented? We may change from one country to another. And then take the maximum duration of the 42 days. If you look at what we have seen right now, within 2-3 weeks, the people, when they got exposed, they had the onset of disease. But the clear guidance shows up to 42 days. So that's the maximum that we are recommending active monitoring of those people who have been exposed.
Thank you very much to all the three of you. Now we come to Politico. Rory Neal. Rory, please go ahead.
Hello, thanks very much. Yeah, I'm just curious about what happens when passengers disembark. Okay, you've just clarified your guidance on isolation there, but like, should passengers be going on commercial flights back to their countries when they disembark, and would you have any concerns around that? Yeah, thank you.
So the question, how should the passengers now who disembark, how should they move on with them?
I will start and probably my colleagues will complement me. Yes, a step-by-step guidance is being developed to make sure that all passengers and crew members are supported throughout this journey. Don't forget what they've been through. And so WHO is coordinating with national health authorities to streamline our recommendation and guidelines on that, and to ensure that first, as my colleague says, that anyone who would have any sign or symptoms can be properly isolated and cared for, while all passengers are being evaluated for their risk exposure, to be able to inform them on what are the recommendations moving forward. So this is still work in progress. The evaluation is already ongoing in the boat, but further guidance is being streamlined and developed.
I think if I could just add to that, so as you know, there's a lot that's currently being discussed right now. I did want to specifically mention that we are working with all of the countries who have nationalities that are on board to discuss the plans for the safe journey of those patients home. Once they disembark, once they're medically evaluated, what those decisions will be. And as Anais said, that is currently being developed. It needs to be very carefully done. But we are working with the countries about that onward passage home. So I just want to assure, and we are also working with the ship's operator because of the crew. So remember, on board, we have passengers from many different countries. We also have crew from many different countries, and everyone involved, all of the governments, the ship's operators want to make sure that they get home safely, not only minimizing their own risk, but any risk to others. So that is currently being developed. And as those plans are announced, then we will make those available. But there's active discussion about how that will be done as safely as possible.
Thank you very much, both. Next, we go to the Globe and Mail. Mustafa Al-Assar, please.
Hello, can you hear me?
Well.
Thank you so much. I appreciate your time. Can I ask about the medical condition of the Canadian passengers, including the 2 Canadians who have been evacuated in April? And you have mentioned that all governments, you are in contact with all governments. Can I ask whether the Canadian government has been in contact with the WHO regarding their safety or evacuation? My next question is, what is the WHO protocol for contact tracing in details? And also, we have been monitoring 2 live streams from the ship. In one, the streamer appeared distressed, was crying, and was asking for help. In the other, the streamer seemed cold, calm, and stated that people on board were not under stress, take the situation seriously, but without panic. He said to us that the situation appears to have been extremely overstated. Could you please clarify this contrast? Thank you so much.
Thank you, Mustafa. A bit more than one question, but let's see.
I heard 3. I'm not sure if I got the first question, which I think was related to Canadians if we're working with the Canadian government. We are working with all of the governments. I mean, this is what WHO does, right? We are a member state organization, and we work with all governments, and they are working with us as well about the people who are on board. I think your last question, I didn't get the second question, but I think your last question was around the passengers who have either live streamed or said that they were under some distress on the ship. Yes, we've seen videos. We've seen that video, and in fact, in some earlier interviews, I was trying to address directly the passengers that are on board because we hear them. As you know, the DG has been in contact with the ship's captain several times and discussing, the captain is doing the best that he can to provide the right and appropriate duty of care for those people who are on the ship. We hear them. We are working with many, including everybody on board, to ensure not only do they have medical support, and that's why there are 2 additional infectious disease doctors from the Netherlands on board, but also providing some psychosocial support as well. This is quite frightening for those who are on board. They want to have the right information and regular information about what's happening. Our understanding right now is that the morale has improved because the ship is moving and plans are being made to get them safely to shore and for their onward journey home. So yes, we have heard that, and I think what you highlight here and what I would like to emphasize is that it's not only the clinical care, but it's also care for people's mental health. And it's really about making sure that they have good information so that they can take action, because of course there is a worry on the ship, but we understand there's also a worry out there. And again, this is why we're trying to answer questions, to just put this into context of what is actually happening. And again, the risk to the general public is low.
All right, welcome back into the studio on Live Impact News. Now, what we're going to do here is we're going to take a commercial break. When we get back from that commercial break, we're going to stick with the hantavirus for a moment, except what we're going to do is we have an update from the Virginia Department of Health about this. What that update is coming up next. welcome back to Live Impact News. Now, we are going to start with referencing a Newsweek.com article. Okay, let's begin there. This Newsweek.com article reads that at least 4 U.S. states are monitoring people who have returned home from a cruise ship struck by a hantavirus outbreak, according to health officials. One Virginia traveler who was on the MV Hondius is, quote, currently in good health, not showing any signs of infection, and is under public health monitoring. Now, we reached out to the Virginia Department of Health ourselves to try and confirm this information. Here is the response that we received back, okay? It involves 3 bullet points here. First, the Virginia Department of Health is monitoring this situation closely and has been in active communication with our federal partners at the Centers for Disease Control and Prevention, aka the CDC. To date, one Virginia traveler who was on the MV Hondius has returned home. This person is currently in good health, not showing any signs of infection, and is under public health monitoring. To protect the privacy of this person, no further details will be shared about this individual. And lastly, we will maintain communication with federal partners and will continue to implement recommended public health actions. Generally speaking, we believe the risk to the general public to be low. That is from the Public Information Officer at the Virginia Department of Health. So this story already touching home here in the Commonwealth a little bit as we continue to monitor the individuals on that cruise ship and their path during this hantavirus outbreak aboard the MV Hondius. Now, let's bring Naya Campbell on here. Naya, I would like to go and switch gears here and shift our focus a bit. And I'm wondering if we can talk about the Secretary Transportation, the Secretary of Transportation, Mark Duffy, and a press conference he gave earlier today. Now, this press conference was given at an event that was celebrating, unveiling an Amtrak that runs from Washington, D.C. to Philadelphia. Now, that in and of itself could have great impacts for people here in Hampton Roads. If you want to get to Pennsylvania, instead of driving 5 hours or 5.5 hours, perhaps you drive the 3 hours to Washington, D.C., and then Amtrak from there. But beyond that, Secretary Duffy gave a press conference right afterwards. Secretary Sean Duffy, I believe I might have said Mark earlier. I got him and Mark Kelly both in my brain here. Secretary Sean Duffy gave a press conference right after, or an interview rather, and that interview quickly diverted to discussing gas prices. So let's listen in to Sean Duffy as he answers questions theoretically about Amtrak, but quickly it became gas prices as the talking point for the Secretary of Transportation.
In the Strait of Hormuz, if and when the Strait of Hormuz opens, what does that mean for gas prices, and when does it help the average driver right now?
So what it means is it's going to bring the prices of gasoline down, but what you do know is that President Trump has leaned into American energy dominance. He talks about energy prices all the time. But we're confronted right now with a situation where Iran was on its way to a nuclear weapon. We saw the missiles that they had as well. They could reach our allies and our bases. And so what the president won't tolerate is a nuclear Iran. And so, yeah, we've seen increase in fuel prices, but we also know that we're going to actually see a significant drop once the Strait opens. And the reason that America is performing differently than the rest of the world is because of the focus on American energy. And again, we're a net exporter. We have energy, we have plenty of energy, and we're sending it to the rest of the world. But again, the president can't tolerate a nuclear Iran. And if you think about what's going to happen, not in the next 2 months, but think of the next 20 years. If this president didn't take this action right now, I think we live in a very different world. And I just don't think we've had other presidents who have been willing to see the threat and address the threat of Iran. And so I think opens up, you're going to see prices come down immediately. You saw yesterday energy prices came down below $100 a barrel. I think we're at 93 this morning. Don't quote me on that, but I was looking at it, I think it was like 92, 93 for Brent crude. So we're in a good place.
We see the price of crude going down significantly recently, but when could we see that at the pump? Especially now we're getting into that summer blend gasoline. 90% of Americans take road trips for their summer vacation.
Well, first of all, we want to encourage all Americans to take a road trip, whether you're going to go 2 hours or 2 days, to see your country. Everyone should come to Philadelphia, by the way. This is where it all started. Great history here. So if you're thinking about a summer road trip, come to Philadelphia. But it's interesting the way gas stations work. When prices go up per barrel, you see that the next day the price at the pump goes up. And as prices go down, it takes a little bit longer to ricochet through lower prices at the pump. That's the way they operate, but again, we have a lag time of probably a week to 10 days when we see a price per barrel go down to see prices reflected in the pumps across the country.
Are you in touch with oil companies, working with them? Hey, everyday drivers are really feeling the pinch right now.
So it's oil is not my space, but I was a couple nights ago. I was with all the biggest oil producers. I talked to the airlines a lot about the fuel supply, the jet fuel supply, and again, I think what you've seen is a lot of Americans are cognizant of what's going on in the economy, and a lot of the energy producers, they're patriots. They want to do their part on the production side, but also on the pricing side. Now it's a global supply, but again, I think you're going to see people trying to step up and do their part to make sure the American consumer sees lower prices at the pump.
Your message to the everyday driver, those who are considering a summer vacation right now, but are kind of on the fence.
Listen, I think you've seen again a president who is willing to address a nuclear Iran. And I think here's a problem with the premise, and some Democrats will do this as well. They're complaining about high gas prices. I don't like high gas prices. This is not a great thing. They're going to come down though. All the while though, you know the Democrats actually want higher gas prices. Like they want you to drive an EV. Like look at California, that's $5, $6, $8 a gallon in California. They want higher gas prices, and sort of to try to talk about gas prices like they want them lower. We all know that's a lie. No, that's not true. They want higher gas prices. There's one president and one administration that's fighting to bring gas prices down by American energy dominance, and that's President Trump. We have had another priority to make sure that America is safe and the world is safe from a nuclear Iran, and he's taken that as a priority. So yes, we've seen this moment in time where fuel prices are up, but when you see the production that's happened in America and what that means for pricing in America, you're going to see them go back down to historic lows, I think, once we get through the issues in the Strait of Hormuz.
Any deadline on that?
Listen, the president's at the forefront of those negotiations. He's trying to cut a deal, which is great on his part. But again, you have a tough president. He knows how to negotiate. If you can negotiate real estate deals in New York, the rest of this is probably like doing a real estate deal in Philadelphia. Child's play dealing with maybe the other negotiations around the country. But listen, he loves the country. He's fighting for the country, fighting for American security, all the while fighting for American energy. What I would not want is the alternative, which is a Democrat leadership that is okay with the nuclear Iran and really great with high energy prices. On the alternative, we want no nuclear, no nukes in Iran, and we want low energy prices. And we think there's a world in which we can accomplish that through strong leadership in the Oval Office. Matt, thank you very much. By the way, thanks for covering the kids.
Thank you, Secretary Gabbard.
Okay, Transportation Secretary Sean Duffy stating that those prices will come down at some point once the Strait of Hormuz opens, and repeatedly taking shots at Democrats within that interview as well. Okay, so we are going to take another break ourselves here on Live Impact News. Again, let's state once more that the original reason that interview even took place is because of a new Amtrak that is going from Washington, D.C. to Philadelphia, and this could be something that travelers potentially use. I have plenty of people who I've spoken with who live here on the East Coast. You know, growing up here in Hampton Roads, it's not that uncommon for people to move to Washington, D.C. or Philadelphia or even up to New York. And many of those people in my life have taken the train at times to travel up and down back to home, and they have always had very, very good things to say about that experience. So a new Amtrak opening from D.C. to Philadelphia, maybe that could benefit you in some way in your travels, especially if gas prices were to stay high and you needed another more affordable method of travel. So something to keep an eye on there, and we don't want to lose sight of that, despite the fact that that interview really focused a lot more on gas prices, the war in Iran, energy prices in general, and things like that. So we're going to take another break here on Live Impact News. When we get back, let's bring on Nia Campbell so that we can get an idea of where we're headed when we get back. Nia, we know that we have a press conference with the DEA Is that where you think the best place to go next would be? It seems like you've pulled it up.
Yep.
Okay, the Drug Enforcement Administration coming up next after some major arrests were made in Los Angeles. Let's take a break and then we'll get to that. Okay, as promised, we're going to head straight to Los Angeles for a DEA press conference. We're going to give a little bit of foundation here. We know that federal authorities said they arrested 18 people Wednesday on charges related to selling illicit drugs, including fentanyl and methamphetamine, around a Los Angeles park. That area, MacArthur Park, densely populated neighborhood west of downtown LA, where federal immigration authorities and the National Guard made a show of force last summer. In this week's raids, authorities seized 40 pounds of fentanyl from a single home at one point. Two of the people arrested are believed to be the main sources of those drugs sold in the park, which were stashed in a storefront and distributed to dealers. That's according to NPR reporting. So let's listen into the press conference regarding these arrests right now.
But here it doesn't. Interdiction, however, does work, and when we're serious about it, and enforcement like this is a starting point, prevention is required, and we are here, and I'll speak for the federal government here. Medicaid will embrace these people. We care about these people. The beautiful program that you all pay tax dollars into will save these addicts. But you can't have pushers across the street who are sitting upshot in bodegas where they're allowed to distribute these drugs, and not far away, the big distributors and the Sinaloa cartel across the border are able to destroy the recovery pathway that otherwise would exist. This is a cost to the system as well. Medicaid is the single largest payer for substance use disorders. We are here, we will put that money in, but the cost to society of allowing these addictive behaviors to continue is $100 billion a year of lost productivity. I'm going to say that again so it sinks in. $100 billion a year of lost productivity. We believe the breakdown is evident. We know what we think will work. You saw evidence of it today. And my hope is that we will take care of people, as Hubert Humphrey declared. Those living at the dawn of life, those are our children. We cover most of those children now through Medicaid and CHIP. Those living at the twilight of life, our seniors, Medicare does that. But today was about those living in the shadows. And that haunting metaphor should affect you. It affects me because I know we can do better for those folks. Now, we have built a nationwide effort to try to address some of the fraud we're seeing. This is a good example when you don't take care of people that we should be caring for, and we're a great nation, we'll do that naturally. That's revealing of fraudulent activities. But I want to ask Kim Brandt to come. She runs the Program Integrity Unit at CMS. She's Chief Operating Officer, and we have been looking very careful at the entire soup to nuts endeavor in California, in particular in Los Angeles, ranging from hospices to personal care services, and I'd like her to give you a short, succinct update of where we are. Kim.
Great. Thank you, Dr. Oz. One of the biggest things that we've done most recently is something that's been across all 50 states. Red, blue, purple, all the states. We asked all the governors to take a look at their Medicaid providers, those who are providing Medicaid services, and determine if there are high-risk providers and suppliers in their state, and to do something called revalidation, meaning they need to make sure they're legitimate. The reason that we are doing this is because in Minnesota, as you may have heard, there's a little bit of a fraud problem. And there alone, they have 5,500 Medicaid providers across the 13 high-risk areas that they have self-identified. 10% of the providers in those areas have already been disenrolled, and it's likely that this number will continue to increase. If we took that against all 50 states, that means that there could be as many as 50,000 plus illegitimate providers operating in this country. Also, we are looking at Medicaid funding, making sure that people are paying appropriately for Medicaid services. We've deferred $350 million as of this week from Medicaid funding to Minnesota, and we are currently reviewing California's personal care services funding, and we are going to be making a deferral decision by next week on that. As you may have heard, the hospice problem here in Los Angeles County is epic. There is simply nothing like it anywhere in the country. There are nearly 1,500 hospices here in the Los Angeles area. We think up to half of them could be fraudulent. Thus far, we have suspended, meaning that we have stopped payments to several hundred providers in here in the LA area, and they total over $600 million in Medicaid spending, which is something in Medicare and Medicaid spending, I should say, just in 2025. If we can stop that, that's more money back to the trust fund, and that's more money to provide care for the people who really need it. We want to really talk about the fact that we so appreciate the partnership with the DEA, the Department of Justice, the HHS Office of Inspector General, and the FBI, and of course the Vice President's Task Force, who has helped us to really take these aggressive actions. So this administration stands very strong with law enforcement, and we remain committed to winning this fight against fraud and restoring communities and protecting American lives. Thank you.
Thank you very much. We'll do a few questions now. Whose helicopter is that? Tell them to back up a little bit. No, it's one of their helicopters. Are there any questions we can take? Yes. She is. I mean, Mayor Bass is the leader of the city. If the police chief wants to address it, I think she had a debate to attend.
Yeah, the mayor. I spoke with the mayor earlier. She was tied up already at a commitment she had, but she's well aware of this and very supportive of our efforts to be able to keep the city safe, working with our partners and to be able to continue this work as we move forward.
Great. And then can you also speak a little bit about the house where the 19 kilos of fentanyl were tested that were okay?
Yeah, we can get you more details, but it was one of the suppliers we identified as part of this operation. Look, this was a 2 months long operation. We did a lot of surveillance, and so we traced the drugs back to who was supplying it here in MacArthur Park. One of the suppliers was this individual, and we searched that residence this morning, and we recovered 19 kilograms of fentanyl from their home. And we also searched 2 other residences. I think we found drugs there too, right?
Yeah, I don't have the totals.
I don't have the totals, but there was a lot of drugs recovered this morning.
Can you share where the residence was?
We'll get you those details. I don't have the address on me. Any other questions, media? Yes, sir.
What's going to happen in this area after you all leave today?
Yeah, well, the streets will open back up, and we'll see who shows up. But we're not leaving. We're going to keep our eyes on here, and if the drug selling comes back, we'll be back, and we'll come back as many times as we need to. This is not a one and done. This is a continuous, long operation. We are going to make sure that the days of open air drug use and dealing in MacArthur Park are over. So if you want to spend 10 years in federal prison, come sell drugs here. If not, go away. Yes. Yeah. Well, first I apologize to the business owners because this is long overdue. It is hard enough to do business in the state of California. It's even harder to do it when you've got open air drug use right in front of your business. I mean, God bless, you got a deli down the street, and he's refused to shut down. He's not shutting down, and I was here with the undercover teams a few weeks ago, and there was a line out the door. So those are American businesses. They don't want to give up on this city. We're not giving up on this city. I know the president doesn't want to give up on this city, and we will work with anyone that is willing to work with us, whether it's Mayor Bass or LAPD. We welcome their partnership. And it's not about us. It's not about any politician. It's about giving this park back to the people of this.
Okay, DEA agents at that press conference speaking about those a number of arrests that happened just here recently. We're going to go to one more commercial break here on Live Impact News. Got about 9 minutes left in show. Quick commercial, and then more news coming your way. All right, welcome back to Live Impact News here on 13 News Now, where we are going to have just enough time for at least a portion of one more press conference. Really a tragic situation in Orlando, Florida. This is Sloth World, which upon hearing that title sounds really exciting, but it has been a really, really devastating set of circumstances at Sloth World, as dozens of sloths have died under Sloth World's care. A press conference with the organization here. Let's see if we can find some answers as to why this is happening.
I'm the CEO here at the Central Florida Zoo and Botanical Gardens. Thank you all for being here this afternoon. As you know, the zoo accepted a donation of 13 sloths from the owners of Sloth World on last Friday, April 24th. On behalf of the Central Florida Zoo and Botanical Gardens, I'd like to thank Representative Frost and Representative Escamani and their teams for coming today to talk to us about the work we're doing to save these sloths. I'd also like to thank Dr. Rebecca Cliff of the Sloth Conservation Foundation and Sam Troll of the Sloth Institute, Costa Rica, for being here today. We were very surprised when we got the call that Sloth World wanted to donate animals to us, and also by the number of animals they wanted to donate. As soon as we determined we had enough appropriate space in our quarantine area that we could prepare to meet the needs of these sloths, we said yes. The entire team was in agreement that we should accept these sloths, even though we didn't have any idea of what kind of condition they might be in, because we knew if they came here, they would get the care they needed to have a fighting chance to survive. We're a conservation organization, and saving species and caring for animals is the heart of this team and the core of what we do. The sloths all arrived here underweight, dehydrated, and lethargic. Some of them were more critical than others, but they were all in poor health. It was clear from the initial assessments that first day that this was going to be a long road, and that there was no guarantee that any of these sloths would recover and survive. You've all been covering this story since the day they came in, so there's no reason to rehash a lot of what you've already covered, but I do want to say it's heartbreaking for our team to see the animals that have been through so much. They deserve better. I appreciate Representative Frost and Representative Escamani because they see that some fundamental changes need to be made to prevent something like this from happening again. As you all now know, it's legal to own a sloth in Florida if you obtain a Class 3 permit from FWC. As an AZA accredited zoo, our team has an obligation to stay on top of the science and best practices of caring for every species in our care. That is no easy task, and it's unrealistic to believe that a veterinarian or lay people who are not experienced and trained with exotic animals can be prepared to properly manage the health of an animal like a sloth. It should not be legal for them to be privately owned, and we hope to see that change. There are also some primates, alligators, and an incredibly dangerous and large bird called the cassowary that are legal to own in Florida, which is baffling both from the public safety standpoint and the standpoint of animals ending up with people who don't know how to care for them properly, which will ultimately negatively impact their lives. Another piece of this that should not be forgotten is how huge the illegal pet trade is all around the world. Thousands of animals come illegally through each of our ports every year to be sold in the illegal pet trade. If owning exotic pets privately was illegal, it would dramatically reduce the market for some of these animals, and it would.
Okay, so there you have it. That individual from Botanical Gardens and the Central Florida Zoo who have been involved in the rescue of sloths over the years, and obviously a number of layers to this story. Perhaps we'll get more answers later on, but for now, we're out of time here on Live Impact News. For Nia Campbell, I'm Connor Real. Thanks for joining us, everybody. We hope to see you again tomorrow.